Hello my friends, and thank you for being with me yet another month. Welcome to all newbies, and invite you to become a subscriber, because then you get notified when I'm live, and it gives you opportunity to kind of interact and bring your energy on board. Now, just a few quickie introductions. I still have my annual Taroscopes on sale. You get one for only $10 and all of them for $20. And I will continue during the April to have my speed up promotion. I am working very hard to kind of catch up with this, but for you it works that instead of like 3-4 weeks, now you're upgrading automatically to a week. So regular reading is becoming rush, and rush reading, which was 7 days, is becoming urgent, so from 7 to 3. And the urgent reading is not more 3 days, it is like 24 hours, so it's kind of awesome. I am doing my best, if you do the order for urgent before 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to actually do it the same day. But then again, sometimes I have to go and see my dad and I'm not at home, so but at that stage I'm going to send you an email saying the timeline for the urgent ones. Now guys, this is all there is. We still have Mercury retrograde until the 15th, and then another 3 weeks for the shadow. So yay. How is your car going? How is your phone? Is it slow? Is your computer slow? What broke down? And I really hope it is not affecting you as much as it's affecting me. In any case, I'll be doing just regular tarot monthly, and then of course it's going to be revolving then to Lenormand and X spread shortly thereafter. Thank you guys very much, and please like, subscribe, and share this video, and you know that I love you. Hello Aquarius, and welcome to April of 2018. So we are already there. The second quarter is starting. So I'll be telling you the name of the cards as we go along, because not everybody knows my Mystic Cat cards. So let's start. The bottom of the deck, three interesting cards. The World, the Sun, and the Priest. Reversed. Actually a really awesome combination. So let's try to break it down, because this one is being the most important one. Very kind of abstract card in tarot. It always talks about ending of a journey. So that journey in life, like for instance, sometimes we know it's the end of the fiscal year, it's the end of I have to pay the bills, you know, by this and this date. But this one has a sort of like a journey in a spiritual way. It's kind of also telling us that the journey really never ends, and this is why we have this circle over here, because at the moment of completion a new cycle begins, right? And this is sort of like the card that it's asking, indicating a total balance, and telling that, you know, somebody, we maybe did put our act together, or we are going to be doing that this month, right? It is like the peak of attainment. It's the glory, the kind of like finally the crowning of the effort, right? So we finally get it, right? So this is a symbol that represents everything that we can accomplish on our path through life. It's definitely downfall of this is perfection, beauty and success and public recognition, but it's also the very plus, the very same thing: perfection, beauty, success, abundance, whatever they say, public recognition. It tells us that this is something that we did set out, we did place attention toward that at some point or the other. So now it is the time to kind of like create this new mystery and create this like new intention, right? It is kind of like really understanding that this is sort of like a festive card, right? And it is kind of like creating that power of involvement, the power of kind of like moving forward, right? This card actually, some people say it's earth element, but to me it also very much indicates Scorpio, and it suggests that you can be triumphant in any undertakings as you have learned your lessons from the past. Because we have in tarot Fool's Journey that starts with 0 and it ends with this card, right? So whatever this is, it tells of good vibrations for the many changes that kind of like you're preparing to make, and maybe we are free to accept new responsibilities. Because definitely over here I see that some of us are feeling sorry for ourselves, or we have been dealing with people who have been feeling sorry for themselves. The hang cat, or the floating cat as it's being called here, is generally being called to see things from a different perspective. You see, the world is 360, right? And this one is 180. You can see how they actually really relate, right? Because this is halfway through our experiences when we are kind of really realizing something is amiss. And it's kind of really weird given how many of these majors we have here. Because this is a realization that maybe the path that has been set out for us, the path that we have been going, it's maybe not the path we really are enjoying. This also can talk about being involved with somebody and who maybe couldn't commit, didn't want to commit, but maybe is ready to commit now. But because of the situation we had, maybe we have left this in the past, because again, this is moving to a completely new cycle. And it's also telling me, given that we have this floating cat or the hanged man in the other decks, right? There is like still some level, or maybe it was up to recently, unwillingness to let go. Unwillingness to even let go even of turmoil. Sort of like sometimes we have to live with problems because they make us who we are, and kind of like work our problems and work our issues through that, right? This is definitely telling that maybe we kind of like refuse to see, you know, our own insecurities. Maybe, you know, we kind of like miss opportunities because of that. Sometimes it's like self-erected wall that we kind of like talk about that, right? This also can talk about reversal of a situation, whatever it was, right? Because it can indicate also you know, material temptations that kind of like we shouldn't kind of go down to this lower passions, right? But to me, the best part of this card is a self-sacrifice, which looks like either somebody got fed up or somebody was like sacrificial lamb over here. This is definitely telling me about some marriage or some kind of relationship falling apart, or needing to go in the next stage, feeling being left out. Maybe we Aquarians have been isolated from somebody and certain things didn't grow. We were uprooted from something that we really wanted to do. And, you know, somebody pulled, like, I mean, as you can see it here, it's also residing this Ace of Pentacles or Ace of Earth over here. Somebody really uprooted us. And it took time, you know, like, did you ever try to replant something? It's like initially the plant collapses and you don't know if it's going to survive. So it almost looks like this kind of reminds me of this kind of situation, that something like this could have been happening. Because I'm getting a few cards, including the Hermit card here reversed, and this is a lovely card. It actually also, not many people know that it also belongs to Aquarius, just like the world. It actually does have this Uranus part in it about, well, not so much the world, more or less Wheel of Fortune, but it does have this because the world sort of like spins with a predictable speed, where Wheel of Fortune doesn't, and you never know what happens. But it could happen that kind of like there are certain kind of glitches in the process, right? So sort of like the eclipse of the sun, not necessarily in the spinning, but let's not go into too many details on this one. So the Hermit here card is also the one that talks about Aquarians. In this particular deck, we cannot see it, right? Because the Hermit generally carries a lantern that has a star, and that's like that basically star that Aquarians are basically represented here in tarot. The Hermit card is definitely it's kind of weird. I drew this card for today on my Facebook. If you are following me, if you're not, please join, because you get the daily Taroscopes over there. The Hermit card came reversed, and instead of like looking into what we need to figure out about ourselves, you know, self-reflection, and this kind of like was also here, like, I mean, putting yourself in a kind of like self-sacrifice. But what do we learn? We didn't learn much in this position. It almost like feels like we really feel only brunt of victimization. And maybe we are just getting tired of everything. Honestly, this is how all these cards are adding up to me, right? Because when the Hermit appears reversed, it can indicate about, it can tell me about loneliness and self-pity and living in the past. But like, that's why it's appearing, because it's urging us to wake up, open your eyes, kind of a thing, reassess your position. You'll be able to prevent future mistakes. This was the whole idea of this card, to kind of like see which one was the fly in the ointment, kind of a thing, right? So maybe we want to be isolated, maybe we want to feel rejected, maybe we want to feel lonely and unloved, and unloved. So you have to kind of ask yourself, why would that work for you, and why would you continue with this kind of that path, right? Be very careful of receiving a counsel or advice this month, but also of refusing valid offers of help, because this again means not trusting yourself and not trusting your own instincts, right? The first part of the Hermit reversed is like feeling that closed heart and closed mind, right? And feeling a desire to detach and sort of like, let me just like do my stuff and now everybody F off, right? Sort of a thing. So with these heavy hitters that we have over here, I'll just put this, let's put this here, because these are minors. Really, guys, let's get to the good part, because this is something that was setting the stage with the World card, kind of like really dominating this, meaning it's over. We are stopping to lie ourselves, because Ace of Sky is definitely telling, well, you know, this was the goal I wanted to get, but now I don't know if I care. It's also the card that says sort of like lies are, you know, the truth is not being told. And that can be by omission. Maybe we are just not communicating with somebody, because this kind of combinations can talk about it. Whenever I see these two cards, it tells me that it was a long process of introspection. Maybe we didn't get where we are supposed to get, and maybe we kind of like just look on the outside and just saying, that's fine. Even if that kind of like was the only thing we got out of the situation, well, that's fine. This is all that maybe we could handle at this situation, because maybe the situation has been something that has been highly stressful that we have been going through, but this avoidance is going to stop. We are actually going to start moving forward in a really good way. We are getting another 9 and 9 of C, which means it's going to be really important for us that we kind of really figure out. Remember how I said some of us maybe dwell in some self-pity and kind of like woke up with kind of bad thoughts, or kind of like went down the tangent. You really are responsible for yourself as well in this kind of situation, and we all have been there, right? But you're responsible to kind of do everything you can to interrupt that, because that's how the brain works. The more times that you do the same connection, the faster the brain works, because they're getting smoother and smoother in reactivity. So now you have to do the same, and initially it's not going to look much of a difference, but if you just snap your fingers, if you kind of interrupt yourself in some way or the other, things will actually start to change. It's called like, I mean, interrupting patterns in neurolinguistic programming. So there is also the Eight of Earth. Maybe maybe it's a tax time. Maybe we have to figure out, you know, the details of our life, kind of like look around, turn around, and also understand that to some extent we actually leaders to the others, and people did look up to us. And most of all, this is really coming to me that because there is also Eight of Sea over here, that we are actually really looking to ourselves. This whole spread, initially I laid it down, and you know that I'm a type of the reader that I'm not going to reshuffle and until I get a good shuffle, until, you know, something works, that I'm going to give a glory. But then I started thinking, because I'm kind of like trying to make sense out of reading, and say, oh my gosh, this is freaking amazing. We are stopping any level of self-deception. And to some extent we had to do this in order to sort of like survive the stress. But things are changing, guys. Things are changing in a kind of like interesting way. Not necessarily, I would say, in a way we want it. But this is the card that says, look, beware what you wish for. So now we are having this opportunity to see if we want to continue deceiving ourselves, or if you want to accept somebody else's lies. Imagine if you have this chance to kind of pick this kind of option, and it tells you, you really have to be sure that this is what you want, because you're going to get it. It's a new phase. Remember, this month is going to be absolutely amazing. So Mercury retrograde brings this past, and brings this past attitudes, and brings past people, and brings, you know, past unresolved things. We do have a karma card here, so definitely past is coming to us in a little bit more like tensed way, because it's almost like not just the past in this life and all these actions, but also everything that has ever been in this life, right? So it is kind of like really interesting when we continue going further, because we have this Eight of Sea. And to me this is actually a really interesting card, because look at this, Kitty is listening to the echoes of the distance. So who are we listening? Who are we willing to hear from? Because something is coming back over here. Whether we are kind of like, almost looks like that some of us, as I said, close our hearts, close our minds. This is telling me that somebody will be knocking on the door. This also can sometimes mean being highly affected with a movie or some kind of emotional response, because we also have a Seven of Sea over here. Maybe feeling a little bit down and out without options, or even feeling that this whole world we have been building, we want to go into, it's fake, because just like this water balloons, the moment when you touch them, they kind of like don't make any sense. Having said that, we kind of like are still not ready to kind of like shoot in a new direction, but somebody else is to shoot in our direction. There is like this sea tone fellow, and frankly that's probably not the best match for Aquarian ladies or Aquarian men. It's somebody overly romantic, overly cuddly, overly maybe even slow, but it's like really what we need right now, with this amount of going through stuff and being unable maybe to deal with it directly, maybe dealing with things indirectly. Maybe this playfulness, maybe this softness in our life could be a really welcome thing. Maybe through other people we'll realize that not everything in life is about achievement, not everything is in life about fame and glory and possessions, because it kind of like tells me also that something has been taken away from us, whether this is a material possession or just like simply emotion. But at the same time we are getting so much stronger, because here the consequences, or the Justice card, is showing up. This card is absolutely lovely. Did I miss one card? Wait a minute. Yeah, I think I did. What, you didn't get something there? Oh my gosh, that's different. Look, we have the cat magic. Wow, this kind of like all fits. Strange. this fellow is going to tell us that maybe we have to just relax. I think that sometimes we get things in our own hands and we kind of accumulate karma. This is kind of interesting. Consequences is like getting entangled in the situations. We kind of have to figure out where we want to go, what kind of situations we want to be present, what kind of situations we don't want to be present, and also to understand that like sort of like sometimes the way out is like really doing nothing. The way out is like simply observing kind of things that are coming to us, right? Because when this comes reversed, it talks about some kind of injustices, and like this is still a theme, a big theme, especially with this cat magic. Whether we are manipulating or somebody's manipulating us, kind of, it's not necessarily the way Aquarians want to go. So the chance here is to move forward. I think it's going to be lots of messing up with us because of Mercury retrograde and things getting in the way, and things resurfacing from the past, because that's what Mercury retrograde does, and also maybe people resurfacing from the past. Now we'll be asking ourselves, because remember how I said this kind of looks like it's a breaking of the marriage, and this can also talk about a divorce. So somebody may have been relegated to the sidelines, or we have been relegated. Somebody maybe was picking somebody else, or we didn't want to be in some kind of situation, and like we're still feeling kind of like a brunt of it. I think that severity of the situation and kind of like trying to land on our feet, kind of like being to ourselves, because this is kind of like coming strongly as a vibe, and this is like very much non-Aquarius. Aquarius is all about groups and friendships and livelihood and being extroverted, and this is saying no, it was a phase that was like none like that. It was like dark ages for Aquarians, but the sun is going to shine. This is the most optimistic, the luckiest card in the deck, and look at these two of them. I'm not worried. I'm not worried. I'm just telling you that there will be not smooth sailing. There's going to be still things and people that will be coming our way. So this is kind of karma card. So let's kind of like spend some time on this one as well, because when this kind of comes reversed, the justice card, right? It can be implying that somebody took advantage of us, and it's kind of like hurting us when things are not in balance, but it was meant to be. It was meant to happen that way. It was meant to take us off our feet. So think about what I keep telling people. Don't think about and don't worry about soulmate. Worry about your soul contract. And I do these karma readings. You can guys hire me to do that. You kind of figure out what you want to do in this life, and everybody else just falls into place. So what this happened to us was meant to happen for a reason that is pushing us to some kind of like new stage in our life, and this is absolutely clear. And that big shift is happening this month. We just have to resist to be manipulating and controlling over the situation, right? Because it looks like we will be getting some things, or some kind of like affirmation or some assurance that things from the past have happened, and you know, yes, I was wrong, etc., etc. This is not the moral of the story, right? Because this is asking us to check and evaluate our own inadequacies and our own insecurities. That can indicate that some behavior became excessive, that there are repercussions in life, and these repercussions are not always legal. Sometimes it's a cost of losing friend, sometimes it's a cost of not having the joy that other people have, sometimes it's a cost of just like not being relaxed enough, right? So this is also counseling not to take justice in your own hands, just to kind of like observe. That's a hard for a fixed sign to do, but this is exactly what the doctor prescribes. Why? Because justice is always served, right? So if this is us being treated unfairly, if this is us waiting for somebody to say, well, I treat you unfairly, we might actually hear this. But trust me, even if you hear it, you're not going to feel it. This is why this card is like very, very important, right? Because it is it is basically warning us against being cold, against being destructive, and against really being in our own way and impacting relationships. Because right now we're on a trajectory that something new has to start, right? After the world, the fool has to come, but instead of fool, we got cat magic. And this is kind of like that, maybe let's call it the manipulative approach to, you know, solutions, where we know that we can get things, and we are just like doing it in an easy way. So very important karmic. This is so karmic, guys. So we are sort of getting what we want. We are almost like getting this fulfillment of the wishes, but let's not forget that we are also called to do lots of inner work. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 major arcanas. Major arcana is like no messing around with this. This is mandatory. It is asking of us to resolve. And guess what? We have been given a sign number 11 for a reason. It's kind of like telling us, okay guys, you're already at University of Life. You are thrown kind of like heavier lessons. And I know you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so freaking tired of this. I don't want any of these lessons. But if you really look back and if you see what we have learned, to have this kind of feeling, to sit at the edge of the world and say, I conquered it. It's an awesome feeling, and no money can buy that. And this is, guys, where we are getting. So let's clarify a few things over here, because I don't know if I'm looking forward to this month, but I definitely feel it will be good to kind of like have a new fresh path. So let's see the Hermit. Why is the Hermit over here? Look at that. Exactly. Money is not everything. Maybe somebody stole something from us. Maybe what we thought is a gift, but almost like sounds to me that somebody might be coming back to our life, presenting themselves with much higher price than they're worth. So ask yourself, is it worth it? Do I really want to pay this price? Because you might feel robbed. You might feel this is not the right thing. And this is a very good quality to be able to understand that. So let's see about this Ace of Sky, because that's again also a fresh start. But we cannot move in that direction. It's probably because of Mercury retrograde still holding us, because Mercury retrograde is until the 15th, and then we have 3 more weeks of shadow. So I think entire time it's going to be really interesting. So let's see, what is this Ace of Sky? Whoa. Was there a third party? Or did we have a little bit of a Peter Pan attitude? Too much fun? Not much grounding? Or indulgence in new things? I don't know. The first thing that came to my mind was a third party, because we have this falseness over here, because this is definitely the card about lies. And let me get one more card for this one. That's kind of interesting. Journey. You know what this means? This means that we don't even care anymore. And that's why the wish card came over. It's sort of like, you know how lies sometimes point at like a sharp edge at us? That's why Ace of Swords talks about that. It doesn't have impact on us anymore. We are moving away. That's why it's 1 and 9. This is kind of like getting closed down, over. Why is this 3 of Fire over here? That's the one card I didn't address. And this kind of like is talking about reluctance of going forward, which kind of is a theme everywhere. We know we should. We know we could. We might even get realization and apology from someone. And this could actually also mean that somebody's coming back. And I've seen it, I believe, in my X series. Somebody's coming back and we are like unsure. Or this almost sounds like we might want to manipulate them to kind of get back to them, and I really hope it is kind of revengeful. Is not going to be the theme of a day. So let me just like see this 3 of Fire as well. Look at this. Come on. Like we are waiting for somebody to come over, come over, come over. But then don't come over, don't come over. And maybe this is what it is. We have to figure out what we want. Do we want to jump? We don't want to jump, because generally this card always talks about energy that we are kind of sending out. And I think this is why it kind of looks like we actually do want somebody to come back. We kind of like want to reach some kind of closure, move to the next stage, whatever that next stage is. And it's kind of hard to move to the next stage with under this pressure of feeling lack of justice being served, and we are these big activists and crusaders and rebellious, and something was going against the grain. Something just kind of like didn't feel right. And now when this is all there, it's like, no, I don't want it. I don't want to talk to you. So you have to figure out, if somebody calls you from the past, do you, if you're waiting for them, if this is like what needs to be resolved, then you cannot attack them either, because we are known for being very open-minded, and this is not what is telling me right now, guys. So let me just see the consequences. And maybe this simply means they're going to come and we're going to tell them both, yes, I do miss you, I do love you, but I do not want to continue with you, because I have learned my lesson. I always got burnt. That can simply mean like that, and finally the cycle is going to turn, right? Because it's the end of one phase. So let's see these consequences. Oh, see, that kind of looks like a marriage falling apart. And I said over here, I kind of like seen the third party. So it could be that somebody was married, because this can actually mean divorce. That somebody's going to tell us they are divorcing, that they are not somewhere. Maybe this is why this can actually mean that we feel that somebody is trying to manipulate us. But that can also be expression of all the past experiences that I see. Let me see this cat magic. Cat magic. Yeah, look at this. Reunion, lover. Good gosh, what are the chances? So you see, he's not Lord, he's lover. This person is getting rid of this, the getting out of relationship, coming out, asking to be together. Honestly, ooh. You can see how excited I would be to see my ex in my life. So I think the key over here is to be open-minded. There are like some messages that are coming through really clearly, and the messages are, I don't want to see here, because the sun is like, it's to stay and be optimistic. We have let's call it one. It's not a good word. Absolutely, I don't like to use this word in relationships, but let me just see. Somebody was married in a situation, clearly. Somebody didn't want to continue along the path that society is saying to continue. And there you go. It was a period of depression, period of withdrawal, huge amount of reassessment in life. And I think somebody here kind of like really dedicated maybe themselves to work, maybe they dedicated themselves to, you know, accumulation of things, maybe setting their life in this direction. But this card also can talk about secrets. This card also can talk about resolving some inner kind of like issues, kind of like that need to kind of resurface. Because we have the falseness card, we have the Ace of Swords reversed card over here, and we have the Justice card reversed as well, and the Magician reversed. But guys, the devil is in the details this time around. So do not jump, walk, or even better, crawl. I would just say crawl. Something is happening over here, and we need to learn this lesson. Instead of caving in, instead of becoming the very thing that we kind of experience on our own skin. So beware what you wish for, guys. That's all I say this month. My Aquas excess spread is coming up soon, as well as Gypsy or Lenormand. I don't know what I'm going to pick this month. And for your private reading, just get me through cattarot.ca. In the meantime, please, if you haven't subscribed, please click on subscribe, and also I would appreciate likes, shares, comments the most, because they don't only help me with the feedback, but they help the other people, and that's the key. You never know how a word or two can change a life, and let's do that, because this is going to be a really interesting month for us. And whatever it was a turmoil, tomorrow is another day, Scarlet. Okay, love you guys. Bye.